Cabinet discussed on some very pertinent issues confronting us now for a fortnight or more. So we'll begin with the agitation that has been launched by the Joint Coordination Committee of the Kensia, NIDA, FONSESA, and their sister organizations. If you recall, I think we have touched on this topic some time back. And the issue is not much different today. And despite the Cabinet Subcommittee on behalf of the government appealing to the JCC, they have not relented to our requests. So the entire system is almost paralyzed, as you know. And it is causing a huge inconvenience to the state and our citizens. We're all very concerned because there are so many other, excuse me, there are so many other important issues that the government will have to deal with in the interest of our people, which are getting stalled because of the breakdown strike. Here, if we go back, they are stressing on the 10th March circular advertising the vacancy of the IAS quota, which is for the state, civil service, and others who are in service in the state. That the entry point should be the NPSC. And those who could not enter the services through the NPSC should not be entertained for the vacancy. I have told you that this move is new from their side. We have never seen this kind of resistance where vacancies should be exclusively reserved for the civil service, state civil service cadres. So it's a new development for the government. And successive governments over the decades, ever since the inception of our state, and ever since this highest cadre sub-quota portion was reserved for the state. This is the first time that we are facing this opposition not to have an open merit-based recommendation for the officers who have served for 8 years and have outstanding performance, eligibility, and efficiency, and have shown merit in their career after holding a position which is equivalent to a district collector of that rank. So the government of the state has not changed its position. It has always tried to reserve and recommend at least one post for the officers with these qualities and records to the post of one vacancy in the IAS cadre of the state. But this, I've even last time provided you the names. I've read out the names also. While at it, I would like to rectify one mistake where I think there was an oversight in the records, and I was made to mention the name of Dr. Chesi, who is now the ex-official secretary and director of the Census Department. He is an NPSC entry. And that's how I mentioned to you last time, for which I apologize for the mistake. Other than that, there are others who have over the decades always been recommended to fill up the one vacancy which falls vacant for the non-state civil service officers. So the government has never changed its step till today. And this is not a new trend that we have adopted recently also. So today, the contentious point is the order of the 6th of July 2020, where the order of the then Chief Secretary have passed at OM that only the civil service, state civil service cadres would occupy the IAS vacancy given to the states thereon. That is where we have tried to explain it to the people and to them also, that there were anomalies. Why we say the procedural lapses? That particular order restraining other services from being recommended to the IAS cadre vacancy was not in a proper way discussed, obtain the competent authorities' consent, and then deviate from the age-old practice of the state government giving one to a non-state civil service officer. That was the point of contention which they are standing by now. But again, once again, I wish to explain it to all of them and to our people, the citizens of the state, that the government of the day has done nothing. The government has not adopted a new trend, a new policy. We are still going by what is the age-old conventional practice of the then governments. Now, if today there are certain oppositions to this practice and people want to change, then that requires a policy decision. And anything that has to do with policy decision has to go through proper channel. It has to be a political decision to effect any policy matters in the state, by the state government. If at all there is going to be a change in the approach or the conventional practices over the decades, the paradigm shift in all these dealings, it calls for a political decision. Now, the 10th of March 2020 order did not have that kind of a political decision, and it failed to obtain the consent of the competent authorities. So it does not carry the weightage that it should to effect such a policy decision from doing away with entertaining even one vacancy for other services. But this is where we have to understand. Unfortunately, this time around, just before the advertisement was circulated, I think I'm getting a little confused. That order we're referring to is the 6th of July 2020. So this time around, 10th of March 2025, unfortunately, again, basing on that order, the executive, without obtaining the consent of the competent authority, had circulated this advertisement of one vacancy, wherein they have put that condition that he or she should be a state civil service entry and not otherwise. So that is where the officers, the LCS officers have, state civil service officers have started objecting. But the government have to stand by its conventional practice. And after it was circulated, only the cabinet and others came to learn that that same old mistake again has been made. So on the 27th, in the cabinet meeting. This was reviewed, thoroughly discussed, and revisiting all the previous orders of the 2020, and also having relevance with the IAS appointment and selection orders of 1954 and 1997, the DOPT guidelines, and everything that had been practiced were studied and were briefed to the cabinet. The cabinet had asked to withdraw the previous circulation advertisement, and it was recirculated on the 24th of April city, where that particular condition stating that only state civil service candidates were eligible to apply for this IAS vacant post. That has been fronted. So now that all is said and done, we understand their contention and their new approach to this entire issue, that there should be a change. It is well taken. But as far as this time is concerned, at least when everything is already said and done, it may not be possible it will not be possible for the government to retract on its previous stand after the state screening committees have also already screened out, shortlisted from the 11 applicants to 5 and had already been forwarded to the center. So after all this, we have seen that the agitation has gained momentum, and in response to whatever have transpired, the state government have constituted a cabinet subcommittee. We have had thorough deliberations with the joint JCC, and we discussed. So after they have also reacted to us, the state cabinet has again met with their renewed representation again. But we found out that in due time, they have already written to the UPSC, Union Public Service Commission, and also to the DOPT, asking the center to review the state government's recommendations. So now what we can do is we'll have to wait for the opinion of the DOPT, the UPSC, whatever their observation will be. Whether the state government has violated the guidelines or flouted some rules and regulations of 1954 and 1997 IAS appointment and selection procedures or not, and whether what the state government have shortlisted and have recommended will qualify or not, that depends on them. So this is where we are. But that is one aspect of it, to put our case to the center to let them decide on our future course of action and the fate of candidates. The other side is we would still request that our issues, why don't we solve it ourselves? Why every small little issue matter has to go out of the state always for the center or for a third party to intervene and solve our problems? I think the government has done nothing new, and we are just practicing the conventional way of how the government acted in the past. So we still request that the JCC, with all the sister organizations, they kindly reconsider their stand, and for the sake and in the interest of the state and the people especially, they must call off their pen down strike and restore normalcy so that the government can continue to serve our land and our people. That is where we are. I will give you a copy each of the sequences of events that have taken place ever since this issue popped up. I don't know whether it will be sufficient. Give them a copy each. We can go through it. I had to work this out because there are so many references to they see something which must be accepted and realized by our people. is of late we have seen so many agitations, and wherever possible, government has relented the people's desire, having to review the cabinet's own stand earlier. But this cannot become a daily affair. The government is here today, not by choice of its own. No sitting member of the assembly is elected by himself or appointed by himself. It is the people who have elected them, and it is the people who have given their power to rule, decide, and carry forward the affairs of the state by the mandate which they have given to the elected members. So, in any part of the world, wherever you see democratic system of governance, the people, once in 5 years' term, at least go to choose their confident leaders among them and place their fate and destiny of the people in their hands, at least for that period of time, that is 5 years. So today, when the government has not completely gone out of its way and embarked on a new system or a new practice, I wish our people do not resort to opposition and agitation every time for every issue like this, stalling the governance of the government over our land, our people, for every issue. Government has not committed any crime as far as this time is concerned. If it was not practiced, then the government might have stepped on the wrong side this time. But this was an age-old, decades-old practice which the government had only been adhering to. So if there's a new realization that this should stop, there's always enough avenue to discuss about the pros and cons as to why or why not it should continue or not. So both sides can put in their position without immobilizing, paralyzing the government like this, where the people are going to suffer. So I would say let us be more sensible and abhor this kind of practices. It's our request, sincere request to them, but we must call of us.
But they have been saying that they are not opposed to non-state cadre, non-state civil cadre, but they are opposed to recommendation of a particular person or maybe persons who are backdoor appointees. That is their main concern. They are saying that it is not other non-state service cadres, but particularly backdoor appointees. So what is the stand of the government on backdoor appointees?
In the first place, I fail to understand the meaning of backdoor appointees. An appointment is appointment. The entry point may not be through the civil service, state civil, NPSC. But if in other ways, which has been practiced since the inception of the state, others are also appointed, and in due course of time they are regularized, and they also perform and shoulder the burdens of the state and discharge their responsibility equally as any other officer who goes through the state civil service exams. I don't know why merit should not be rewarded. Not all are brilliant, I must say. Not all are studious in life. So everybody can't face an examination board. And everyone cannot excel in front of such kinds of competitive exams, unfortunately. But if either way, somehow they enter the services and their performance grow in efficiency and eligibility, efficiency in their administrative or other roles that they are assigned for, then they should also be rewarded equally. There should be room for these officers to also be rewarded at the end of the day. In fact, there are many who also shoulder equal responsibility and perform equally well, as per their other colleagues who have entered through the state civil service. So the state still feels that there should be at least some room for the state government to observe and reward such officers also. And you will see in the papers that I've given you tonight, to read it properly, the DOPT guidelines and the other central guidelines, they never mention that it must be through the state civil service boards. There's no such thing. And they were citing some case which was there earlier. I'm not very sure about it. But the latest is this. I think you should have a copy of it. On the 1st of February this year, 1st of February this year, a similar case propped up in the state of Rajasthan, where a known Rajasthan State Civil Service cadre was taken up for recommendation. So a certain NGO and a petitioner has filed a special leave petition to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court had tried the case and they have dismissed the case, which was earlier already decided by the High Court of Rajasthan. And the Rajasthan High Court had not only dismissed the case, but had imposed rupees 5 lakhs penalty on the petitioner of this special leave petition. So the Supreme Court felt that it was a little on the higher side, and they have scaled it down to rupees 2 lakhs fine imposed. And they say that the vacancies can be filled up by a non-state civil, Rajasthan State Civil Public Commission. It's exactly our case law. And this was on the 1st of February 2025. So if you are to take this as a precedent, where their observation of the Supreme Court says that the state government has done nothing wrong, and they have followed the DOPT guidelines existing, and the 1997 IAS appointments and selection procedures. So we're exactly in the same position today. So, but still then, this pertains to another state. So we say that they have written to the UPSC, to the DOPT, central authorities. So let us wait on the comments of the observation and the decision of these authorities at least. And so within this span of time at least, let us call off the strike and let normal civility. That is our request.
Sir, so is the state government confident that, if agitators take the legal course, the rulings with the Rajasthan government, the Apex Court and the High Court ruled, would also rule something like that in this case, if it happens?
Well, they are free to avail the options. They have it at the disposal to go to, seek legal redressal. But the law is the same in this country for every state. We're all under the same law, the same constitution. So, and though high courts may differ from state to state, the Supreme Court is there ultimately for all. So I don't think they will have 2 yardsticks for 2 different states for the same matter in similar cases. But they are always, as I said, free to avail that option if they so wish.
So, sir, with this kind of functioning, the agitation going on, how is the government going to manage the paralyzed system of the government activities that is going on now?
Well, you can see, but they have taken the state to ransom. We can't move. So I think this is not fair. As civil servants, as government employees, committed to work for the interests of the state and the people, I think their conscience must speak to them for the better interests of the people. They must really understand. There's nothing which is not negotiable. You see, there's always room for understanding and for rectifications without having to go to this extent. We've had much more serious issues in the past, and we will continue to have many different issues with or without saying the looming issues that are hanging above us and all around us also. But if for anything we are to start agitating and taking matters to the street and paralyzing the functioning of the state, which is the last mechanism that is at least breathing and trying to keep things moving in the state for our people, I think this is not fair. They must review their stand again.
So, how is the government viewing the agitators instead of resorting to legal recourse? Holding the government, mandated government at ransom like this. How is the government viewing this?
Yes, you will understand the feelings of the government. It's in a catch-22 situation, whether to react or whether to continue to endure this inconvenience. But to everything, there's a limit. And if we are pushed to the wall, then you know what will follow. And that is something we want to avoid at any cost. To be at loggerheads with our own hands and legs. See, they control the government machinery. So it's the most vital organ in the entire government machinery. So we are in such a position where we are almost helpless.
So, is there any chance of sabotage being committed by any of the officers, knowing full well that the point number 4 should not have been added? Would there be any possibility of a sabotage by any of the bureaucrats?
Well, I would not like to say that. I wish it is as how we assume it is, that it was unintentional error and an oversight in the dealings with the procedures, and it was a procedural lapse without having to have any intentions or other ulterior motives. I wish that can be understood, and we will keep it that way. Yeah. But then, 10:50.